Ron Artest, Dennis Rodman, Bruce Bowen, and Rasheed Wallace. Some of the best pests in NBA history. But could a certain Canadian be taking the cake as the NBA's greatest super pest? This is Hoop Talks. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Hoop Talks. Noor Zainab, Jelani Goodridge-Reid, talking about Canadian super pest, Memphis Grizzlies guard, Dillon Brooks, and is his antics good for the NBA and creating rivalries? Now, of course, he's had a multitude of incidents beginning in the second half of the season. Of course, him and Draymond Green were basically nose to nose, kind of getting really intimate there. Then, of course, he pushed the referee in Miami. He also, got into with Kyrie Irving, and it reignited the rivalry. But I have a simple question, and I'll start with you first, Jelani. Is Dillon Brooks good for the NBA?
I think so, because you're talking about the Memphis Grizzlies as a team, right? And how they are the evil team, that evil empire that's coming up. No one likes them, right? Ja Morant stuff has happened, right? But even aside from Ja, Dillon, right? The way he's been talking as of late, a lot of people on Twitter, right? A lot of people on the media, whether if that's TV or whatever or whatnot, they talk about him all the time. I think it's good for the league having this one team that nobody likes and people want to see fall, right? We saw this a couple years ago with the Warriors, different type of circumstances, but no one wanted to see them win, right? I think it's better for the league when there's a team like this. And for Dillon Brooks, I find that, look, he's Canadian, right? But I even think that the Canadians are tired of him now, right? So
he's not a nice guy.
I think it's good for the league, man, because there's times when the NBA lacks, those characters. I think sometimes the NBA lacks that rivalry, and I think the NBA needs way more of that. So I honestly don't mind him doing this. Yes, I find him a bit annoying. I'm not gonna lie, but I think this is really good for the league. No?
I think he's easy to hate, was what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Like, you want to hate someone. If you're watching a game and it's supposed to be competitive, right? When you're watching a sport, you're watching two teams clash against each other. You're watching your favorite players take on the other team's best players. You want to see some kind of storyline so that it helps your fan experience, right? And having a guy like that, I'm not going to like him any day of the week. I'm probably going to be his biggest hater. But seeing him on the court just makes it more fun, because now you're like, you have a certified villain on the other side. And it just makes the whole experience as a fan so much better, because it's easier to root against that team and root for your team. They're like the new Boston Celtics, I think. So the Boston Celtics are a little bit likable nowadays. I don't know about you guys, but I think they're a little bit likable
nowadays. I don't really
nowadays.
like them that much.
I think they're a little. The NBA needed a new villain, and this is where the Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant, and Dillon Brooks came into the view. So
I want to say this: Dillon Brooks is one smart individual. He's a genius. He is a genius. You know why? Because he takes all the pressure off Ja Morant in the media, Steven Adams, Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson Jr. Everybody wants to know what Dillon Brooks is going to do. This guy is not even a remote all-star player, and he's getting post-game press conferences.
Yep.
Right? People want to talk to him because he's going to say something, right? He's also probably going to get a podcast now. He's marketing himself. He is the modern NBA player, right? Now, again, you saw what happened with him and Kyrie a couple of days ago, where he went to go exchange the jerseys, and then Kyrie kind of just like, I think Kyrie said after the game, I was until the next thing. I totally forgot about it. But Jelani, when you look at Dillon Brooks, right, he, in a playoff series, he can play a big factor off the court and really get into, opponents' heads.
Yep.
And I think that is something that can be very, very important for the Memphis Grizzlies come playoff time.
Well, we've seen it before. Draymond Green. Okay, perfect example. Draymond's not considered to be the best scorer, the best, talent.
But
right?
he was a defensive player.
But yeah, we know that. But I'm saying, like, overall, as a talent, in terms of what he could do out there, some people, they think, okay, it's just Draymond, it's whatever, right? Compared to Steph and Clay over the years. But he's the heart of that team, right? And I think here in Memphis, Dillon could be that guy. He could be that heart and soul of the Memphis Grizzlies. And you talked about it, playoff time, chirping, we see it all the time in the playoffs, right? And it works at times, right? So I think Memphis could use this, moving forward.
It works, but it
you
can
know?
also do the opposite
could,
effects. You
right?
know,
Yeah.
if
We saw
I'm
it last year,
someone,
too.
yeah, exactly.
So-
If you're someone that thrives, if you need, I mean, look at LeBron James. If you need someone to give you a reason to go against your other team, you're gonna look at Dillon Brooks and be like, okay, you know what? Thank you, buddy. You're gonna dap him up, be like, thank you for giving me a reason to beat your ass tonight. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. So in a way, it's great for the
Yeah.
fans because you're so into it. But as a team that might be taken seriously, imagine you're looking at them, you're like, thank you for giving me motivation today. Now you're gonna go down.
Bulletin board material. But I think
Yeah.
it could hype up the Grizzlies to play harder.
True, yeah.
Right? You never know what happens, and I really want to see them play the Warriors. That's just me. I want to see that matchup again.
Is that the best rivalry in basketball right now?
Right now,
Dillon,
yeah.
not the Grizzlies versus the Warriors.
but
Dillon Brooks versus the Warriors. Is that the best rivalry in
Yes,
basketball?
I think so. You could argue there's Luka and D Book, right? Because they always go after each other. But in terms of a player versus a team that hates one guy in particular, yeah, it's got to be that, right?
And the Memphis Grizzlies did it well too, because they didn't target just any team. They targeted the defending champions.
Yeah.
And they were like, if we're going to be part of any conversations, it's going to be the contendership. Now, are they going to do anything with it? Probably not.
We'll see.
Have they done anything with it? Absolutely not. But they want to be in the conversation of the greats. So by doing that, they're going the right path. So they're putting themselves in ESPN conversations over and over
And
again.
it stems from like the play-in tournament where they knocked the Warriors out a couple of years ago, remember?
Yep.
And then of course the Warriors were kind of down in the dumps then, but Steph, he was on fire that year. Then last year they play in the playoffs, Ja, gets hurt and they get knocked out. And this year now, they're back, and the Grizzlies now will get Ja Morant back. Finally, a couple of things on Dillon Brooks. Would you want him on the Toronto Raptors?
Yeah. I
Yeah?
don't mind him. I don't mind him because
Would you want him on your team?
I want guys like this, right? Junkyard dogs. That's what the Raptors were known for, right? And I think that's what Dillon could be on my team. Do I want to play against him? No. If he's an opponent, I hate him, right?
Yeah.
It's similar to Pat Bev. He's another guy. I say if I'm a team, I would want him on my team because I know what he could provide. Look, he's not gonna be a guy that plays like LeBron or Steph out here, right? But he's a heart and soul guy, right? He'll get after it. He's a hustler. I want hustlers on my team. So I wouldn't mind Dillon Brooks on the team. I think it could work because he's also Canadian, like I mentioned. But yeah, I think it would be better having him on your team.
They're not on your
than
team.
not.
Yeah, I can see that point of it. But I'm like, I think there's tiers to being a pest, and Dillon Brooks as well as Pat Bev are one tier, but then you have another tier of like guys like Draymond Green and Chris Paul and Marcus Smart who are pests, but they're also good at basketball. So it makes the difference to have them on the team. So if I were to have anybody, I'm gonna want a pest who can also play basketball, because I think Dillon Brooks
He's averaging 14 points a game this season.
yeah, it's 14 points a game.
That's better than a whole lot of people in the NBA.
Absolutely. But is it better than is it worth it to put up with the antics of him every single day? I don't think so, personally. You're not a Raptor fan. You're asking a Raptor fan. So I'm telling you as a Raptor fan what I would want. And personally, for me, sorry, Jelani, I wouldn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I think you want, like you said, you want to have all the junkyard dogs you can have on your team. Guys that, Dillon Brooks averages 14 points a game. He's not the best offensively, not the best defensively, but you can't ever question this guy's effort, right? And getting under people's
Barking
skin,
effort for
right?
sure.
Yeah, well, that's bark. He shows up, right, on a night-to-night basis. He is not going to play Memphis's next game, I believe, tonight because he got his 18th technical.
Yeah.
And also the whole thing with the cameraman, again, that's something that, he did wrong. He shouldn't have done that. And hopefully he does kind of, figure that situation out because we don't want to see that, right?
No.
I'm interested, though, with Dillon Brooks and what the perception would be had he not got under the skin of Draymond Green, and what would he be? What would his role be in the NBA? He'd probably just be a glorified role player, and I think maybe it's really smart of him. But that's a talk for another day. We'll be back for another edition of Hoop Talks soon.